This is the Sustainable IT Insights channel with David Daoud, hosted on the Bright Talk Network. As a principal analyst at the advisory firm Compliance Standards LLC and host of the Trending Paths podcast, David brings you this new episode exploring the challenges of managing sustainable IT practices. Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode.
Late last month, I hosted a fantastic roundtable discussion with the CEOs of three leading ITAD companies. Two of them, Sage Sustainable Electronics, and Cascade Asset Management, are now a single company, and I invited their respective CEOs, Bob Houghton and Neil Peters-Michaud, to join me to go over their decision to join forces. Bob and Neil, thank you very much for joining me, and first of all, congratulations to both of you, to your companies, to your employees, to your customers and shareholders. I think you all have a lot to gain, as you probably know better than anybody else, from this transaction. But of course, there will be a transition period, and we want to know everything you can legally share with us. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you, David. We're delighted to be here. And speaking as somebody who's had a lot of respect for Neil and his organization for many years, I'm delighted now that we're going to be working together, and I think it will create a lot of value for our respective customers.
My first question is about defining this transaction. In my preliminary assessment, as you have seen it, I called it a merger. But was it a merger, or is it a merger, or is it an acquisition?
The way we're approaching it is as a merger, because we are, I think, mutually looking to create best practices out of each other's business processes. So there are certainly things that the Cascade team has excelled in that the Sage team wants to copy and incorporate for the benefit of our customers. And then likewise, there's things where Sage has established a track record of performance that the Cascade customers can benefit from. So Neil and I are approaching this integration as partners. Technically, it is an acquisition. The shareholders of Cascade have basically sold the company to Sage, and this was facilitated by our majority shareholder, Closed Loop Partners. But it was an acquisition where there are some rollover interests in the transaction. So Neil will have a position in Sage now, where of course he was the founder and one of the key shareholders in Cascade.
For the remainder of this discussion, by the way, my preference is to use the term merger, because the term acquisition, in my humble opinion, and I'm not an expert on that, refers to the financial and legal context in which that transaction has taken place. But to put it in the context of the ITAD industry, I prefer the term merger given the outcome of this transaction. But obviously, it's important to clarify the legal aspects of that transaction for sure. So there seems to be an effort to not disturb any aspect of the two companies separately. And I anticipated they will remain somehow separate for a little while. Is there a timeline for when this will change eventually and the unification of these companies is final? Do you have something you can share with that?
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk a little bit about that. And again, just to reflect back on where we started, we are so excited about this opportunity to work with Sage and the acquisition too. I mean, it's a change of ownership interest, but it is an opportunity to transfer our leadership skills and our experience into new markets and to learn a lot from both Sage, Relectro, and Closed Loop Partners to help us be better to our clients. And I admire Bob so much. We've known each other for about 25 years. I've watched and respected the work that he and his fellow leaders have done at Redemtech through Sage and creating a new platform that is well respected in the industry. So we're honored to be a part of that. I think the first stage for us is to make sure all the businesses are maintaining high quality services to our customers. We want to make sure that they are brought along in this process and then introduced to some new services that we can leverage from each of our companies to help them, whether it's the on-site services that we can provide or logistics services that Cascade offers, or the sustainability reporting and some of the features for looking at business process improvements that Sage offers to its clients. And then the repair capabilities that we can leverage from Electro to help harvest more value out of equipment. Those are things that we want to do right away. So there's going to be some behind the scenes integration opportunities that will benefit our businesses and benefit our customers right away. As we know through doing integrations, and people have seen in the industries, and Bob has seen firsthand through Arrow, it is very difficult. And so we're taking a very methodical approach to make sure that we can get to a point of integrating the companies, both on the back office support, whether it's HR, finance support, to the more customer-focused approaches of providing a similar set of services that we can offer to all of our customers and new prospects. Technology that we can report on processing activity to all of our customers. We want to use a singular platform and to be able to provide sustainability reports, environmental impact reports. We want to be able to, at some point in time, be able to take equipment from any of our customers and run it through any facility, and the customer experience is the same, a high quality experience and value to them. As far as the timeline, we're going to do it when it's ready. I think there's a lot of milestones that we've identified already to say that we need to hit these targets to make sure we are ready to flip the switch on all these different milestones. It may take 6 months, it may take 2 years, but the most important thing is to get it right, and that's what we're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Neil. I mean, there's so many synergies. In some ways, I always considered Sage and Cascade kind of the same companies, the same kind of geographical footprint in terms of size and scope, the same sort of service and product definition, and so in general. But when you think of M&As, whether it's a merger or an acquisition, generally, and this is not specific to this company or any to this transaction or any specific one, generally something is lost, whether it's I don't know, independence, strategic direction, leadership, influence. What aspect of Cascade specifically, what aspect of Cascade identity or operations will inevitably change at some point?
Probably the wasteful processes that we're doing or things that we could improve. And that's the whole point of this.
Excellent response.
One of the exercises that we did with our leadership team over the last couple of years as part of our own strategic planning is, very detailed SWOT analysis. What are we good at? What are we weak at? Where do we really need to focus on areas to help us be a better company to our customers and to our employees? And this is, there's a lot of M&A activity out there. Anybody in the ITAD industry knows they're getting calls all the time. And so we actually did a methodical process as we were looking, for growth in the future, being very honest with ourselves on what we're good at and what we're not good at. And if we are going to partner with anybody, what are the criteria that we have for the type of partner that we want to work with? And Sage is really hitting all the bells and whistles and the numbers as far as where we're weak and how they can strengthen us, whether it's in the geographic footprint, the technology that they can leverage to our customers, financial, balance sheet too. I mean, that all helps us too to be able to support the largest customers out there. And I think we're able to help, some of the strength and some of the weaknesses that Sage may have. So the intent here is to lose our weaknesses and to really strengthen our position to service our customers and our employees. So that's the goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. In terms of, so this is a critical question. In terms of the branding, do you expect changes in branding? Will we see, I don't know, a combination of Cascade and Sage, where you'll hire some very smart kid who can figure out how to merge them? Or I have a feeling you probably have already a clear idea, but should we expect some kind of a phasing out of something in the future?
David, none of the brands, when you have a brand like Cascade that's 25 years old, there's equity that is attached to that brand. So I think it's safe to say the brand is not going to disappear.
Okay.
And the way that we think of Sage as is as this platform for sustainable electronics. That's our brand promise. And Cascade Asset Management, it implies expertise in asset management, obviously by the name. And asset management is a core part of the value delivery that Sage needs to include. So I think Relectro, Cascade, Sage, these will all be part of the brand structure that we maintain. We don't have all of that settled out yet in
Of
explicit
course.
terms, so that'll be a part of the integration. I would say, one additional consideration on the Sage side of this transaction that was important is Neil and his leadership team at Cascade. When the closed loop folks and I were discussing, do we want to consider acquisitions? Obviously, there are targets out there, and a number of people have, been available over the last year or year and a half. But I told Closed Loop that the people that I had the most respect for and that I trusted was the team at Cascade and Neil himself. So this is, it's a terrific additional asset to the overall Sage company that now this Cascade team is becoming a part of it. And I've asked Neil to be responsible for the integration project between the two companies, just to give you an idea of exactly how much respect and trust we have for the
Mhm.
Cascade team.
Yeah, and of course, since you're responsible for that, Neil, how will you measure whether this transaction is truly successful? What KPIs will you track to determine if that was the right move? I don't know. Could it be market share? Could it be, well, market share is very difficult to determine in ITAD.
I mean, you
But
can help us with that.
yeah, absolutely. But what do you have in mind as sort of the end game in terms of saying, okay, yeah, we've done it?
Yeah, I'm really happy that, Bob helped to put together a project team that is including representatives, leaders from each of the three organizations plus closed loop partners, and then engaging all the next level leaders and staff. So we're in that process right now of gathering the information too on what people are looking for. That being said, we have come up with some general overall visions and goals for where we want to go and how we can measure our success. And some of them are that the process is successful. So we have process related goals that we're engaging people in this integration process. People feel that they're being heard, we're hitting our timelines, we're being effective. We need to build trust in this integration across the board throughout the organizations. So we do have some KPIs that we're building in to measure that we're progressing and meeting our timelines, meeting our goals, and that people feel that their interests are getting heard.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to outcomes, there's some things that we know that we can get some financial returns right away. And we've got economies of scale, better buying power. We should be able to get some savings related to licensing, supplies, things like that. So we're going to be able to identify any specific cost savings that we can do. So certain performance measurements, while not reducing the quality of service, how can we improve the bottom line for both organizations? Then we have KPIs related to quality. We want to make sure we've got these standards for quality that we're providing to our customers right now, and also the buyers of our refurbished product. We want to maintain those levels of quality throughout this process. And then another really important KPI is that we're engaging the employees across all organizations so that they feel like they are being valued, that they are part of this important program and a purpose. So whether it's, Cascade has used these engagement surveys in the past from the best places to work to get a sense of where people are at. So get us some kind of baseline of where people are standing right now so that we can improve that over time. Because we need our people to be involved and engaged and successful, and make sure that any of the financial returns, the revenue targets we hit, the profit goals that we're shooting for, and then the milestones of new technology that we can deploy are done on a platform that supports the people in the organization.
Yeah, and the stability of, not the stability, but sort of the image of what Cascade slash Sage version 2.0 looks like. Are we talking about a 1 year timeline, or 2 years? Is this, is it something that you guys have to perform right away? Or do you have like a little breathing room to make it happen and make it happen right?
Well, David, my sort of makeup is to have a sense of urgency about anything that delivers value to customers. So, there's a lot of resources in both companies that we want to make available to all customers. And so that drives a sense of urgency around integration. And ultimately, the macro KPI is, do customers love it?
Mm.
We need to look at the great customers that Sage has developed and the great customers that Cascade has developed, and those companies making up those customer portfolios have to love the combination. We have to add value and be delighting them, and so the developments that Sage has been investing in are going to be available to Cascade customers, of course, and it's important that we make those available as quickly as we can. There are a variety of things that we're working on that will be differentiating in the ITAD industry, and we do intend to continue to grow this business. And what I say internally to our team is, the point of getting big is to maximize the impact of our mission. It's not scale for its own sake, but we as a business exist to make the world more sustainable by how we handle electronics, and we also want to make tech available and affordable to everybody, again, by how we handle refurbished electronics. And the overall impact that we're able to achieve is directly proportional to how big the company becomes. So we definitely plan on having a very large share, if not a majority share, of the North American ITAD market.
Wow, that's absolutely right. So I do appreciate that you guys come forward and be transparent about what you guys are doing. After all, you're privately held companies. You could say, well, we don't need to talk to no one. But there is, in my mind, there is sort of this disclosure that you have to make to your clients. I know you're working very, very hard to express your positions and ensure that they're pretty happy. Let's clarify some of that, because we've received a number of calls. Some of the same clients that you guys have are also our clients. We have non-disclosure agreements with them, but we are obligated to give our opinion. How do you assure your clients that this transaction will ultimately benefit their ITAD programs? Some clients negotiate multi-year ITAD contracts with quite often very strict SLAs. Will any existing contracts be renegotiated or modified due to this merger? I ask this is because these are some of the sort of questions that clients on the end user side typically question. And I wonder what's your position when you engage with customers as you go through this transition period?
You want to take that first, Neil?
Yeah, I'll start. I mean, we've had conversations with the customers right away. We let them know, and we had talked to key clients about it. And I mean, people are very happy for us. They also want to make sure that the current level of service is maintained, and that's the out of the gates plan. And then they have a goal for what's going forward. That's when it comes to renegotiating contracts. Those are always on a regular cycle where we don't renegotiate every contract at the end of the year. They're always coming up throughout the year. And so there's actually always an opportunity for us to take a look at better services for them, for the value that we provide. So as we're able to deploy more services from this partnership, this merger, where we can actually provide more benefit, I see there's an opportunity to negotiate some things. We can save people on freight costs potentially, because we're not shipping stuff across the country. So there's some benefits there, and have some markets. And when we've talked to some customers about it, it's heartily as we are able to build more services and as their needs evolve and grow, let's make sure that we're capturing that into the contract renegotiations. But we don't have a specific plan between Sage or Cascade on February 28th for changing the prices. That's just not how that works. We do very much work on a client by client basis to make sure we're understanding their needs and providing the best service to them.
Yeah, and look, I think because you guys are sort of the same profile and there's a lot of synergies, I really don't see any issues on your customer side. But any sign of customer attrition that you're seeing for now, or it's business as usual? And I think Neil, you said people are pretty happy where you stand.
The feedback that I've gotten from customers is that there are certain geographic locations or services that they have not given to us in the past, that this new relationship with Sage is going to allow us to expand our work with them. I have not, nobody is backed off. I mean, it's very exciting out there. I think part of this is both of our companies and Bob and I and the people who are providing the account management services to our clients have been around for a while. We've got a really good reputation, and there is trust that's needed in these relationships, these business relationships, that is more important than a contract that other people can break at any time. And I think we've earned that trust with people, delivered on it, and they are feeling that we will be by their side as we go forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me focus for a moment, or shift for a moment, to the strategy behind this merger, the motivations, etc. What were the key drivers behind all of this? Was it about expanding service capability? Was it about improving financial resilience, or responding to client demands? I mean, if you recall, one of the elements that I cited in my note was geographical footprint, but then I just realized that geographical footprint would be sort of a Reno, Nevada, Cascade, Sage facility, and Orlando Cascade facility, but everything else seems to be concentrated in the Midwest-ish area. What's strategically, as you guys started talking to each other about the synergies, and what was driving that thinking process to get where you are now?
David, I'm in a position where we've been able to maintain fairly substantial double-digit growth, and we intend to continue that. And so it's been my responsibility to build out the Sage executive team. And a key driver of the Cascade transaction for me was getting Neil to be a part of this team and take a senior position to help us continue that growth. He's got some great people working with him at Cascade who will again help add to the bench that we have at Sage. So honestly, one of the key motivations for me was recruiting Neil and his team to become a part of the Sage organization. It's not to minimize, though, the benefits that the geographic footprint gives to both companies, because the Madison location is going to be great for some of our upper Midwest customers. The Orlando location is going to be great. We have a major customer, actually, the very first enterprise client that we signed back in 2014 has a very strong presence in Florida, and today they're shipping that stuff either to Columbus or to Montgomeryville, which is our new Philadelphia area location. So the footprint will add a lot of value. The combination of the teams will add tremendous value. And there are unquestionably talents on the Cascade side of the equation that are going to be very complementary to the talents that we have on the Sage team. A lot of the Sage team is Redemtech alumni, and some of whom have worked with me for almost 30 years. Some of them are very new to the ITAD industry, like our CIO, for example, came out of BMW finance and has a completely different career experience. Having those fresh eyes that are non-ITAD helps us. Now having the Cascade folks come in with their perspective on how to run a successful ITAD business will help us be smarter. And so I think the mergers and acquisitions tend to be 1 + 1 = something less than 2. I think this is the cliche 1 + 1 = 3 because I really believe that we're joining two extremely compatible, synergistic companies that ultimately are going to do a great job of delivering added value for customers.
Yeah, they're absolutely correct, Bob. And I would add, from sort of a distant third-party observer, to me, the story is about really two stories. It's not necessarily about brick and mortar or geographic footprint, although ultimately Neil will have to be tasked to figure out sort of the next phase of growth for different locations in North America and beyond, for sure. But to me, the two main stories is really one about two skill sets that have a lot of similar attributes, a lot of synergies getting together. So now you have an organization that borrows from years of expertise without necessarily overlapping. The other story, to me, is about the shareholders behind it, and particularly closed loop partners. What is the role of closed loop partner at the moment, as beside being sort of an investor and a financial backer? They seem to be really driven by a lot of what's happening in the circular economy world. So when I think of this transaction, I think of a new player entering the ITAD market, plus because they have other things as well.
I can give you my perspective on closed loop, which is now several years long. We brought them on as our majority shareholder in August of 2023, so not that long ago. But at the point that Closed Loop launched their business as an investor in the circular economy, that happened to be the year that I was the pro bono executive director for the e-Stewards program. And I looked at the new Closed Loop partners and said, this is the investor that I would like to have for my next company, because one of the most challenging things in working with an investor is aligning on the sort of core values of the business. And Closed Loop Partners and its CEO, Ron Gonen, 100% are in business to make the world more sustainable, which is why Sage is in business. So the relationship with Closed Loop is one where we never have to explain ourselves in terms of why we're doing things that improve sustainability. They care about profitability, of course, as any business needs to. The board is controlled by Closed Loop Partners as the majority shareholder, and they have been a terrific partner for me running the Sage business. And I think they're extremely skilled as investors in businesses. When they were courting Sage in the early days, I found the Closed Loop people, who are the same ones I'm working with today, to be the most informed people in private equity that I've ever spoken with. And as Neil suggested, we get a lot of calls. I've had a lot of conversations with people that are interested in the ITAD business, and nobody's ever done their homework better than Closed Loop has. And nobody's more aligned with Sage core mission values than Closed Loop is. And so it's been an extremely strong partnership. And that includes the Relectro acquisition last fall. certainly the Cascade acquisition. Neil can speak to his experience in working with closed loop, but I can endorse, as a CEO of one of their companies, they're a fantastic partner.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, I worked with a number of similar types of companies, and prior to sort of their acquisitions, and the metrics they use were very flawed in a number of cases. A lot of those are emotional decisions in a number of cases, and many of these cases, unfortunately, ended up in failure. I have a feeling we're looking at a completely different landscape, a different situation with closed loop right now. They seem to be very much focused, and to your point, Bob, I think they're doing their homework a lot better than most, if not all, of the companies that I've engaged with in the past. From an operational alignment, that merging two companies like yours will eventually mean integrating things like logistics and compliance frameworks. It's all over the map, certifications. What are the biggest hurdles you guys expect to face in lining all of these processes going forward? And I think, Neil, earlier you didn't give a time frame for that, but surely there's got to be some thinking about the time frame on how all of that is going to happen.
Well, I think it's just going to be things that apply to any business. If there's things that impact individuals that work here in their day-to-day lives, if at some point in time we have to change how a handbook is written to make it consistent everywhere, benefits programs, we have to figure that out. I mean, those are going to be challenging ones that we have to make sure that we can provide a great value to all of the staff and make sure we're making the most of the scale and size of the organization. So I think some of those back office business type decisions are going to need to be well thought out and consider everybody involved and make sure that they're taken care of. And similarly too, as we're rolling out these business tools to our customers and to use and from our operations perspective, we need to make sure it is meeting a business need and a customer need. I'm very grateful that there's an opportunity that we've actually been involved in, before this merger, where we've provided some input too on our workflows and how we can provide the way that we deliver services to our customers and how that can be adopted into the new business technology solutions that Sage has been already investing in. And so we're going to be finishing those deliveries of those systems together by taking the best practices for everyone. So I appreciate that opportunity to have some input into those programs, but to use the phenomenal technology and engineering skills that Sage brings to this position.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Bob. Sorry.
We're expecting that we've identified a bunch of risks, a bunch of pitfalls that can happen. We're not going in blindly to this, and we want to make sure that we can consider all those issues as we move forward.
We have an all hands meeting with everybody in the company once a month, David.
Mm-hmm.
This week or this month, it was last Wednesday, and I also made the point to the team as I was talking about the Cascade transaction that if there's anybody that finds that Columbus is not cold enough and snowy enough, now we have friends in Madison and they can apply.
Orlando too.
Yeah, they can apply to work in the frozen north. I think
don't treat it like
more...
Siberia. I mean, we're not a penal colony up here.
Well, and you do have a better access to cheese curds, and so anyway, I think that there's going to be more opportunity for everybody that works in our combined companies, just from the scale. And Neil mentioned a few basic things, but Sage is large enough now compared to years ago when we started. We have a great benefits plan, and I think that it's particularly competitive for families. We've structured it so that it's very affordable for families, and this will be a value add for employees that are trying to have a career with we're getting big enough. You can't call us a small company anymore, but still a small company, relatively speaking. you can have a career here. You can raise a
Mm.
family. You can make a good living. And that's one of the things that I care deeply about as a CEO is being able, the fact that I've worked with some of these people for almost 30 years, that's because the company has made it possible for that to be a rational choice on the employee's part.
Yeah, this is a absolutely very important point that you raise, Bob. Certainly, if any company claims that they are in the business of helping clients handle their ESG, posture, it's very important that your own ESG posture, particularly on the S part, the social posture, is done the right way. And to me, there are a number of metrics out there that could sort of assess whether a company is doing right vis-a-vis its employees. And I absolutely personally endorse what you said and encourage you to work on making improvements and putting your place as sort of the right place to work. And I've seen a number of your current and past employees ratings through third party rating agencies. You guys are doing very well there. You guys are doing very well, and I encourage you to keep at it. You've talked a moment ago, Neil, about sort of the operational alignments. One area that is of a concern to me that may not be necessarily something that you can control. I mean, you can control logistics and you can control, stuff within your facilities, etc. But as you know, the sector where you're in is highly regulated with certifications, a bunch of ISO standards, R2E stewards. We're now seeing more standards coming into the sector. Does this sort of merger, if you will, create new compliance challenges, or not really? Are you going to change a little bit your posture to sort of align what Cascade and Sage have been as two separate entity, and now you have to deal with it as a one entity?
One of the benefits of Cascade and Sage coming together is we actually have all the same certifications right now. So we're
Okay.
e-stewards, ISO 9001, 14001, NAID certified. So it actually, as far as the compliance scheme that we're on and the management systems that we've developed, that is one of the easier integrations that we're going to be doing. We also are using the same certifying body for most of those. So the mechanics of being able to transfer that over, where we know it takes some time to kind of work, we're working through our currently scheduled set of certification audits this year, and then plan to have everything under one roof probably by next year. But all the standards kind of give you that 18-month period to do the transition. So that's what we're looking to do. But there's a lot of great opportunities where we're going to take both of the compliance programs, and this is take the best in breed of both programs, and from a security, quality, environmental, and safety programs, see how we can make the best programs across all three organizations. There are some things too that are a little different that we appreciate that Relectra is bringing to this to the business, which is
Sure.
having it's the WISE certification. So it's the wireless industry certification that provides some additional training and support for people doing mobile device repair. We're looking to see if we can leverage that to the other organizations. They are R2 certified. It's good to kind of look at that. We're kind of throwing a few things out there to say, hey, let's take a look at all the certification programs that are out there and make sure it meets our client requirements and business requirements. So out of the gates, we're good on compliance. Look at how we can merge them two together. And then we'll just see, based on the demands for customers and how the certification programs work, what the long-term solution is.
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, David, if you talk about sort of the forward-looking strategy, we see, or at least I see at this point, the boundaries of ITAD getting fuzzy because
Mm.
the operational processes that we manage for our customers are adjacent to so many other life cycle practices that there are really good operational rationale for taking things like break fix activity and giving that to an ITAD and for depot repair. That is a lot of what's behind the Relectro acquisition. when you think about Cascade's performance, they have on-site services teams in each of their cities, and Sage has a more centralized team. I think we're going to be able to expand what we're able to do with on-site services for our customers using Cascade's leadership. So lots of ways that we can expand, but we want to be more of a life cycle services provider that does ITAD better than anybody than strictly speaking just an ITAD provider, because there's such great adjacencies. You can really help customers reduce cost of ownership to the extent that you can do basic things like receipt and deploy, or recovering midlife assets, refurbishing them, and then redeploying those assets. And there'll always be a need for ITAD, and we'll do a great job with that. But we want to try to take the corners off of the strict definition of ITAD and add value wherever we can, where there's an operational efficiency, just because one operation is kind of adjacent to another.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me shift to the sort of the last set of questions, if you may, and it's sort of about market positioning and industry impact. Do you see this transaction as part of a, lack of a better word, increasing consolidation in the ITAD sector? In other words, does this merger signal a shift towards fewer larger players in the industry? My sense, maybe I'm responding to my own question. My sense is probably not. We still have thousands of small mom and pop companies, a lot of mid-sized companies, but you've seen a number of companies out there that may not be in the ITAD world purchasing ITAD units. Are we going to see more of that? Is that a precursor to something more interesting or more intense going forward?
Neil and I haven't talked about this, so he may have a different opinion, but I think that what we have an opportunity to do, as now arguably the largest pure play ITAD in the industry, is we can set the standard for what great service is. And my experience and observation of the roll-up that's been done by some of the public companies to get into the ITAD business is that they never set new standards for service. They may set new benchmarks for scale and speed and other things, but too often the service gets dumbed down in order to create a sort of standard package that a large organization can execute against. Whereas Neil's in my business, while we have a reasonable amount of scale, we also have a lot of experience in being flexible to accommodate customer requirements, and to create solutions that are specific enough to individual companies' needs that it adds a lot of value. So I think there will always be a lot of small independent ITADs, and there'll probably be more, large corporate sort of public company roll-up programs for ITAD as well. But I think what Sage and Cascade and Rolectro will do is set a performance standard for what a pure play lifecycle management company can achieve that the big companies are not going to be able to touch.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I've always been very clear with people that, ask me to sort of summarize where are the strengths and weaknesses of this industry, where are sort of the potential good winners or the winners are going to emerge from. And, when you do sort of a landscape analysis, yes, you'll see the very small companies that are inevitably going to disappear at some point. I mean, there's so many regulations, particularly if they're after enterprise class business. They can be local and that's fine, and they might always find a little business. The big companies tend to be the what I call the conglomerates. They their ITAD unit, as many of their units, tend to be buried in the structure, and getting resources, getting the attention of the C-suite is very difficult for the people that manage those units to go through to break that ceiling. I've always said that at the end of the day, what this industry needs are ITAD companies, pure play, what I could call pure play firms that focus essentially on that. That's where the innovation is going to come. That's where the resources are going to concentrate. That's where the attention is going to happen. Not necessarily someone like Arrow, if you guys recall. Arrow has a problem for its core business. Everything else suffers and struggles. So I'm absolutely with you. I'm excited to see that you guys are making that move. So what's the, if we were to revisit this conversation, let's say 2 years from now, what do you hope will be sort of the biggest success story of this merger eventually?
From my perspective, it's that people like you and our customers say that this was a success, that someone's actually done it, that they've been able to improve, they've increased their market share, they've provided better service to clients, they've retained excellent leadership and talent at the organization, and they've provided returns and value to their shareholders. And again, we meet the impact goals that we've set for environmental sustainability, social good, and the work that we have that's important in our mission. I really like to be successful and I really like to win. And I think that there's a commitment too that Bob has to be able to do that, is that winning is to have a successful integration and to meet all those milestones and to be able to achieve those wonderful things. It's going to take a lot of work to do. But that's what I hope we see 2 years from now. And we've had again, I've seen different people in private equity come in. This is different. Closed Loop is an impact investment firm that is very much involved in the operations. They know what's going on. Bob and I are totally committed to the ITAD industry. This is not one of a multitude of different priorities that we have. And so I think with that commitment, with the support that we have and with the talent that we have and the customer base, it's going to be successful. And that's what I hope we say 2 years from now.
And I want to say that 2 years from now, customers will broadly find us irresistible.
Okay.
We will be investing in innovation. We will be investing in great service. And one of the best compliments I was ever given by a competitor was at a trade show, and he was saying basically, I never talk to your customers to try to win their business because it's a waste of time. And that was a great compliment then, and that's the way I want to imagine our customer base 2 years from now. Absolutely loving our service, just finding us irresistible, and if that happens, the financial side of integrating our two companies will take care of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. And the ingredients, so part of the ingredients of making this successful, to what extent the role of closed loop partners is, I noticed both of you, Neil just mentioned it a moment ago, that they're very much committed as a disruptor, excuse me here, as a disruptor, and in a positive way. You feel that CLP has sort of the commitment to go all along for as long as as long as needed. They seem to be very committed to doing so. Is that the case?
Well, that is the case. They're also committed to investing in any project that makes good sense in terms of the mission of the business. The Cascade and Relectro being the most two recent ones, but I think Closed Loop is unique as a private equity investor because they're also an operator. And I do think that this is maybe getting a little bit afield of the topic for this discussion, David, but you'd have to do your research on Closed Loop to know that they are the largest privately held operator of municipal recycling facilities in the United States.
Yeah.
They operate over 20 big municipal recycling facilities. And it's an important part of their business, but it provides them with an operational mindset that a lot of investors simply don't have. And of course, ITAD is a very transaction intensive operational business. Neil and I are successful by what we do in our plants with our customers' assets. And it's not the same as the closed loop recycling process, but they do have a perspective on what it takes to be good operationally. And I think that's another thing that makes them really excellent as an investment partner.
And to your statement here, Bob, obviously closed loop has a multitude of other assets and other businesses. Should we expect some of these synergies to take place within where you guys are headed as a company, because they have a number of other things that are part of this circular economy, sustainability, etc. And I would imagine that there is probably a grand master plan where what Sage Cascade are doing would be part and parcel of that sort of great vision.
Well, it's a little more organic than a grand master plan,
Oh,
probably.
okay.
But I have introductions to all of the closed loop CEOs, and we are always looking for opportunities to work together and to add value to our respective customers. So I have had calls with the guy that runs the recycling company, the municipal recycling company. I've had calls with the guy that runs their robotics company, and we're gonna collaborate where it makes sense for the customers to collaborate, and there'll be ongoing exploration of sort of the organic opportunities to work together. I had a call with the board right before this interview, and we were talking about opportunities to improve using some of the new technology that the robotics company has created to improve our mobility processing. So, we'll exploit every advantage that the closed loop portfolio offers, and that creates value across the board.
Gentlemen, once again, congratulations. This is a wonderful news from my perspective. I think I always tell people that if you think the CEO of a company has a tough job, try to be the CEO of an ITAD company and see what happens. I think you're going to have a very busy, rest of the year or next couple of years, and I really appreciate the time that you guys are giving me, and best of luck with everything. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. It's a pleasure.
You just listened to an episode of the Sustainable IT Insights channel. Please subscribe to this channel. More information can be obtained here and on our podcast website at trendingpaths.com. Until our next talk, thank you and goodbye.